Johnson with Lead Heroes and Hire Heroes.
And this is Taco Tuesday. Let's talk about insurance. This is a show all about growing your business as an insurance agent and bringing you up-to-date marketing trends. We have great guests.
We have sales experts. We'll talk about all things pertaining to senior insurance and other lines of insurance. We're trying to help you grow your business, and we are excited that you are here to watch our content.
If you enjoy this episode, make sure to like the episode. Subscribe to any platform that you enjoy to listen on. Make sure to leave a 5-star review if it allows it, and we'll see you on the episode.
We'll see you in there.
Taco Tuesday! Taco Tuesday, Taco Tuesday without tacos.
Welcome back, everybody. Christian Brindle, Glenn Shelton. And we're here to talk about liars.
Liar. You're a bad liar.
Right. What's that Selena Gomez song? You think I'm feeling on fire? Bet you I'm a bad liar. That's not the words. I totally ruined that. But
if your channel wasn't demonetized before, now it's definitely demonetized after that Selena Gomez impersonation. They're like that was offensive to Selena.
That was bad. Selena,
we are demonetizing your whole channel.
Selena's she's gonna fund that producing robot. Put you out of business.
You get a letter, a cease and desist from Selena. She's like, how could you?
I have Selena Gomez's autograph, guys.
Yeah. Yes.
Good. So Glenn, what are we talking about today?
Today, we wanted to talk about lies that a recruiter or an IMO or FMO that maybe you signed up for, or experiences that Christian and I personally have when it comes to being recruited to get you to, put your contracts underneath them. So, part of the insurance business, if you are new to it and you don't really understand it, in order to have access to the insurance carriers, which have the products that you're trying to sell, you really have to sign up underneath someone.
Right.
Some insurance carriers do work with insurance agents directly. You can be an independent agent. You can be brand new with no production, and you can go straight to the carrier. There are a lot of carriers that don't do that. So you have to go underneath someone. So going underneath someone and not going direct to the carrier means someone's getting overrides. Someone's making money when you sell a policy. So because there's a monetary gain there, there's a lot of bad actors who will say things that aren't true to try to get you to sign up, to try to get you to sell insurance underneath them. So that's the topic today, you guys. Lies that insurance recruiters tell you to get you to contract with them. So this is kind of a big topic. Where where do you eat the elephant? You take the one bite at a time to eat an elephant. Where do you start though?
Yeah, I think so. The first things that come to my mind when we talk about this would be leads, commissions, levels, right, and training. Those are probably the big three, right? That's Boston's big three of
Boston
FMOs lies, right? I think they're all very different. They're all very unique and diverse. I think out of those three, the one that probably I would put on a pedestal above the others would probably be leads.
Let's start. I think what would be most interesting for our listener, is there a personal experience that you could share to maybe start this, where you could, again, I know I was freaking rug pulled so hard by the IMO that recruited me. I mean, it was literally like, what? It was like Looney Tunes, like literally, that's how hard but I'd love to hear before I say anything, I'd love to hear a personal experience that you had with being lied to.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, it might just turn into an absolute roast fest for the FMO that brought me into.
Are you going to name names? Are you here to name names?
I don't want to get sued. If anybody wants to know the name, DM me, email me. I will gladly tell you the name.
Oh, okay, there you go.
But I think for my own future's sake and my child's sake, I probably shouldn't. They're an integrity partner after all. Yeah, the first FMO that what I was under when I came into the business. So a lot of people know when I came into the business, I was under my dad, right? So I was an independent. I was a downline of my father, and he had his contracts split with two different FMOs. One is the one we're with now, and one is another one that's local. And we probably had more of the more important contracts with the local.
Oh,
FMO.
I know who you're talking about now. It took me a second. Yeah.
So this this local FMO, essentially had little to no communication with us. My first couple of years, I put up really, really strong production for them on, probably their number one carrier. And, it's just they were always very controlling. Like if we tried to make a change with the carrier without their approval and going through them, I'd get some nasty email from this absolute bitch that worked for them. And everyone I know that knows her thinks that she's that too. I don't think she's with them anymore. I hope she's unemployed. She'll never work for me. But just chewing me out, being like, how dare you try to make this change with your contract, like with the carrier? It was almost like how I was paid or anything like that. And I'm like, who are you? I'm like, who are you?
Right.
Like, you're a big nobody that, works for an FMO. And so long story short, kind of the biggest lies that we were told was when after years of me producing really well for them, they ate pretty good off of me. I wanted to start recruiting and training agents. That was kind of my new interest. And I think I deserved it. And they said that in order for me to do that, I needed 5 agents with every single insurance company, the traditional 5 agent rule.
Yeah, you and Tony talked about this in detail, right?
In detail.
Yeah.
So they told me that old lie, told me it was the carrier's requirements. Of course, we all know that's bogus. It's not true. If anybody's FMO is telling them that, they're just raking you over the coals. And that was the first big thing. And then, there were things like where we had contracts with the other FMO and they knew that. They would send contracting links to our agents, behind our back, and the agents would get confused and fill them out thinking they were supposed to. And we had to get them released. And then they would take agents that we brought to the table with a carrier and they would not put it under us. And they were putting it under another organization in Chicago that was one of their biggest agencies, and just hoping we wouldn't notice. And they had no affiliation with us. They weren't connected to us. Like, they're just putting them in another hierarchy, being like, screw these guys. And so like things like that. So I've never experienced anything like that anywhere else. Like this organization, to me,
if you're listening,
as dirty as possible.
If you're just listening and you're not watching this, you guys, Christian is like about to go Hulk. He's like almost shaking with rage right now at the lies that he was told. The funny part is, as you're telling this story, like it becomes this snowball effect where it's like it starts with one lie and then you kind of start to realize they lied about everything, right? Like
continuously. Yeah,
that's my story too. I don't want to cut you off short here though, so continue.
But no, that's pretty much it, right? Like it was lying about levels. It was lying, saying that an agent was contracted under us from a hierarchy perspective, and then we call the carrier and find out they're under some group that we don't know who they are, right? I'm like, huh? We find out more later on what that really was. We find out that our agents are getting contracting links. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I didn't request this. I'm like, what? That's just super shady, unethical things, just, I would say if you look up unethical in the dictionary, you see their logo, like they're the same thing pretty much. Right. They go hand in hand. And so, but yeah, so that really scorned me. And it just kind of like opened my eyes to what some groups really operate like. And this is a group that has been in business for decades.
Right.
And as I went on and I started talking about it, having conversations publicly and privately, I had people reach out to me from the same organization being like, they're doing the same thing to me. They're doing this to me. They're doing that to me.
That's the sad part to me at the end of this story is like, I don't know any agent who's been around for more than a couple of years that hasn't had this experience. It seems like it's almost like the tuition that as an insurance agent you have to pay is you have to break through an organization like this where they are just going to tell you lie after lie after lie. And you have to break through that to really be successful. You know, it's hard to be successful when you're getting fed just constant lies about everything. You know?
Yeah. And, you know, they were like, someone we both know in the industry used a term recently called override vulture.
Override vulture. Did not expect that to be the term you were about to say, but I love
like, this was the definition of these guys, override vulture, because I can't think of one thing they ever did for us, ever. They might have done 1 or 2 lead drops over like 5 or 6 years for us for like $500 here and there. But that was it. You know, there was never any training. There was never any support. The training they did do was awful, right? Like,
right.
I mean, I could go in today, I guarantee, and train all their agents, and they'd learn a bunch of shit from me they've never heard from them. You know, if they brought me in. So that's kind of my story. And so, you know, it just comes from a place of understanding. But yeah, it sucks to be lied to. So that's why I said early on, like, I think comp, levels, leads things I've never been lied about to me about, but I've seen people. I
got lied about all 3 of those though. Like when I'm thinking about, again, my own personal story, you guys, just like Christian shared, you know, the first agency that I signed up with, which I may have even name dropped. I'm sure I have probably. I'm sure at some point you probably name dropped that agency that you're talking about. I'm going to just avoid it for the sake of the conversation because I mean, I guess it doesn't even exist technically anymore. So I don't know how I could get in trouble for potentially, you know, saying bad things about them. But anyways, those were the big 3 that I got lied to: levels, commissions, and leads, right? Isn't that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was told that 100% was the street level for life insurance contracts, which maybe for some it is, but generally, like, especially when you're looking at final expense life insurance, you guys, and I hate, maybe I'm bursting someone's bubble who ends up, that'd be hilarious. Maybe someone's listening, they're like, wait, it's not 100%? Because think about, that's an easy lie to tell someone, right? Like, the top level contract is 100%, Christian. Like, I'm going to give you a contract for 100% of the annual premiums, right? Mm-hmm. That's how the life insurance commissions get paid. So when you hear that lie, it sounds like a good lie. You take it in, you believe it. And then you find out that there are street levels that are 10, you know, some might be as low as 105, but a lot of street levels are as high as 120 now on a final expense contract. You can have no production or very little production, and you can literally get 120% of the annual premium as your commission. So, you know, I was lied to about that. I was lied to about, again, kind of the levels of the commission. Like, hey, we're starting you here, and then this is where you can top out. And like, that whole system was not true. Like, I could definitely have gone higher. There were people in the organization that were being paid more. And then the leads thing, I was told I was buying exclusive leads every week. My manager got my leads, was working them before me, and then selling them, the ones that he couldn't sell essentially, or that he didn't get a hold of. He was then selling those to me. So he was like working the leads ahead of me. And I got that name. I got his name from one of the leads. They said, I just talked to so-and-so, which was my manager. So like, I knew. I was like, okay, you just talked to my manager last week. My manager is telling me this is a brand new lead, and he's handing it to me. I'm like, okay, like, clearly I'm being screwed on the leads here because I'm paying a fortune and someone's working them before me. So
that's as dirty as it gets.
Right. I mean, that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. That's when I was like, you are literally getting in between me making a living for my family. Like, I can't provide for my family because you are screwing me over so hard. Now, a commission level is one thing, right? Like, okay, I could be making 10, 20% more, 30% more. That's one piece of it. But to literally get to the point where it's like, I'm going to give you all of the trash leads that I couldn't close, that I couldn't get a hold of, and I'm going to cherry pick everything on top. I mean, and then charge me full price for it. It was ridiculous. It was direct mail leads. And I remember I was paying like $30 a lead. Maybe even more, honestly, because they were mortgage protection. Some of it was direct mail. So it was very expensive marketing that I was paying for.
My father, when I was a new agent. And I'm not mad at him about it at all. I really am not. But I just want to see the reaction to what I'm about to say.
Man, you really do love the reactions, don't you?
I love them. They're what makes the show to me. My father, from my first couple of final expense contracts, put me at 95%.
95. So what did he say anything about it?
He just was like, he's like, here's your commission. It's 95%. I'm like, wow, 95%. I'm like, that's a lot. Cause I'm used to selling med sups. They're
20%. Right.
And about that on the med sups, he had me at 16 to 18%.
Right.
I think.
Sure. I'm sure he did.
You know, so he's like, this is great. You know, my son knows.
Good luck, son.
Shit.
Go get him.
Well, what he says today is he's like, and I'm cool with it. But what he says today is like, I wanted you to earn it. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm fine with it. But I was at that level until we broke off from them.
You bring it like as you're about to close on buying out his business. You're like, remember when you shorted me?
It's funny. The reason that comes to mind is because I thought about it. I was talking to him the other day, and it crossed my mind. And I brought it up. I'm like, remember when you put me at this? He's like, I did not. I'm like, yes, you did.
That never happened.
Yes, you did.
No.
That happened. He's like, well, maybe with one or two companies. Yes. And
it was an accident, Christian. Yeah. He didn't mean to.
It's okay. There's no hard feelings or resentment about it. It's just funny.
How can a new agent avoid these pitfalls though? Like how do we help new agents not have to go through this freaking mess that we've both gone through, that almost every agent I've talked to, like I said before, seems like if you're a licensed insurance agent, I mean, I'm talking about the life health space, but I'm sure it's probably all lines of insurance that this happens. Yeah. You know, these organizations that market for new agents, and then they get them in and they just tell them whatever they feel like they need to. And then all of a sudden, a year, 2, 3 years. I mean, I thought at the time I was really well read too.
Yeah. Right.
I thought I knew. I thought I knew a lot. I don't know.
And so did I. For sure. I mean, it was, I think what it is I think Facebook groups are the number one thing. I really think that is the benefit and the value of Facebook groups, is because if someone believes a lie, they will quickly discover that the lie is a lie in a Facebook group through just not even if they don't comment, even if they don't put the question out there, the question and the conversation will come up at some point, and it will be discussed, and it'll be an open forum. And if someone puts information out there that's wrong, they're going to get jumped on by 100 people. They'd be like, that's not right. Yeah. So it's the masses. It's free flowing information of truth, and what's true is out there, and what's not true does not publicly put it out there in those forums for fear of retribution and being called out. So that's my thought process, because I think I learned so much about the way things worked from Facebook groups. Yeah. Through that information just being out there, and it was like information that was always there, but was never talked about. And it's like, well, everybody's wondering the same questions, but now there's a place where we can kind of safely talk about it. And if you're being lied to, you can be told you're being lied to, and you can confront the person that's lying to you, and then you just watch them pivot, watch them go backstep, and you can be like, oh, I'm being lied to.
I'm trying to find right now, as you're talking, I'm trying to find a post that literally just happened in like the past couple days. And it was literally like this exact topic. I'd love to literally be able to read the post, because, we're old fuddy-duddies now, so like it almost sounds like this doesn't happen anymore. But like this happens every day and it's still happening. And I literally, man, I really want to find this post, but it was someone that was just saying the same thing. It was kind of like it was starting to unravel for them. The truth was starting to come out. They finally had the nerve to, you know, go into the group. I'm trying to remember which group it was. I think it was a life insurance Facebook group, but you know, they were kind of like trying to figure out what the truth was because they had been told all of these lies by their IMO, by their FMO, and they were getting just the absolute lowest I was shocked. It was like 60%, 65% on. They mentioned Mutual of Omaha Living Promise specifically.
Yeah.
So again, that's a simplified issue whole life policy that should be comped very high when you're talking about street level. And again, like I'm all for transparency, like the right way. If you're an upline, I think it's if you really believe in your process and your company, I think you're transparent. I can't find this post, you guys, but I think you're transparent and you just tell the agent, listen, like we're starting you below street, but we're also going to train you. We're going to help you with marketing. Like, I think you can be transparent about putting someone on a lower commission schedule without lying to them and saying like, hey, this is it. Like, this is as high as it goes. Like, you'll never get more than this, blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever lies you do get told. I think transparency can still win. I think you can still have a great big agency. I think you can recruit a lot of people without lying, you know?
Right. 100%. I think, like even in people that are LOA situations, you know, like there are people that have worked with my company before and work with my company currently that are in LOA spots, right? And like they are fully aware that's what they're in. They're fully aware as to why. They understand what we bring them to kind of justify it. You know, like they know we spend thousands of dollars a month on leads. They know that, you know, we provide them pretty much a cookie cutter plug and play model to where they can just plug in and make a lot of sales. And there's a lot of groups like that. You know, we're not the only ones. So, and anybody in that role for us, they know what street level commission is. They know what it is. They know it's out there. They know how the whole thing works. And they decide to take it anyway because there's value, right? It's not easy to be independent. And it's very hard to get started as independent. So I think, you know, that's very true and a really, really great point. I think transparency is always going to win. I think just hiding things and keeping secrets, the person probably will find out at some point and it just builds and breeds resentment and just almost makes you look bad. And then any person they ever talk to about you is going to tell them what a bad guy or gal you are.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that baffles me in today's marketplace too, is like it's so easy to get busted for like back in when there wasn't the type of groups and networking that happens now. Like the way that technology has evolved into the sense that like agents all over the US can easily interact with each other online in a Facebook group. There's, you know, all sorts of different places that essentially you can congregate online with other agents. I think it almost demands transparency. And back, you know, 5, 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't like that. It was very easy for them to say something about a specific carrier and a specific product, and it was almost impossible to validate what they were saying. If you go to the carrier will be like, you have to talk to your upline. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't talk about your commissions, you know, like, you're underneath your upline, talk to them. And, you know, if you didn't have anyone else to talk to about it, you didn't have anyone else to talk to. That's just how it was.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a great point. And I think it's unfortunate, but I think we live in probably in terms of just free flowing information, the best time ever, you know, in the industry. And it's not just about what's real, what's not real from a contracting perspective, but it's also on, you know, marketing, best practices for doing business. And I think it's just great. You know, so I'm a big advocate for online communities, Facebook groups. I'm a little biased because we have a few of those.
A tiny bit.
You have one or
I
two of
do.
those.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I think that they're great, and just the feedback I get from agents in terms of like, I was in this position and it was almost like I was asleep and I was woken up by finding your group, and it just freed me from this horrible situation I was in. Those are the things I like to hear, and it almost like is partially responsible for like launching careers, even if we didn't have any impact with them hands on.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And I think that's a great way. I think
I think
you can research online, but I think the forums are great. Communities are great.
the in-person events are awesome, like the summit.
Yes.
It's such a great way. Again, I think it demands transparency in a lot of ways when you get a lot of people together in the industry like that. But the beautiful part about technology is you don't have to even go to these in-person events to necessarily take advantage of it. I think it's almost a watered down experience, right? Compared to being in person. I think you can get a lot of information really fast, and there's different things you might gather from somebody when you're face to face talking to them. But, again, you can still keep in contact and you can ask questions and you can see what other questions are being asked by your peers. You can see kind of, other relevant things going on in the industry, and you can get that transparency that, Christian and I, we didn't even have the opportunity. It's wow. I'm curious to know, I'm sure it would have changed my decision-making process with who I would have recruited, let recruit me, or who I would have chosen to be my upline. If I had this level of transparency that's available now to you guys, I'm super jealous. Honestly, being a new agent in that sense, I think is almost easier than how we had it.
Yeah.
It sounds like an old timer thing to say, to be like, oh, you should have seen how it was back in the day. But
in my day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's funny. Like, I wanted to tell that story about my dad, not to make my dad look bad or anything, because my dad did a lot for me early on in my career. But just to be like, that's where my flesh and blood put me start.
It's true.
I was like,
It's true.
I was like 2-3 points under street level on MedSup, and I'm just like, this is great. I'm making 18%. This is fantastic. I love this.
Your dad's like, dinner on Christian this week. Don't tell him, honey. We're going to Applebee's.
Yeah. But, and it's cool. I'm fine with it. But like, it's a good trade-off for me. But I just, I mean, and it's, I would say if there's transparency involved, it's not a bad thing to be put at a lower level if the value that you're getting in exchange suffices.
Okay, I want to ask you this question too. I know we're kind of getting close on time, but what's the most outrageous lie you've ever heard that a recruiter or a company or an FMO, and you're like, wow, like this is pretty crazy. Like they're really saying this.
I mean, so there's this, I wouldn't even say it was at like a company or an FMO necessarily.
That didn't take long.
Well, actually, yeah, I changed my mind. I've seen people that run large organizations. They could be considered FMOs of sorts. They've said publicly in Facebook groups like what they tell people that were our requirements for like an MGA level or like an upper level. Sometimes I've seen people say like 30, 40, 50 agents. I'm like, that's not even close to the truth. I'm like, that's just a blatant lie. And I've called people out before. Like I waste my time. I get into the weeds. I used to more than I do now, but I just get into it with them. I'm like, that's bull. I'm like, I have people under me at that level with this amount of agents. It's like, well, we do it,
I think I've seen you in response post the video of you and Tony talking about it.
Yes.
I've seen you be like, no, and here's the video where I actually spent like a whole hour just talking about this topic. Like, screw you.
and Tony being on it is so great because at the time he was in a role as a important figure for a top of hierarchy FMO organization. Right. So like, you can't hide from this,
No.
like, and,
no.
and And it's one of those things where like, I'm like, we have people in our organization at that level with this many agents. So explain it to me. And that's like the answers I always get back is like, well, when we try it, the carriers terminate their contracts after like 6 months if they don't have enough. I'm like, that's bull. I have somebody under me for like 3 years with like 10% of the agents you're saying they need. And nothing's ever happened. It's like, I'm like,
you must have had a special situation for that.
Yeah, it's always something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're either drinking the Kool-Aid yourself from someone under.
That's worth noting too, is some of these recruiters, they don't know they're lying. They've been told lies and they believe them to be true, and now they're spreading the lies that someone else told them, and they honestly believe it to still be true.
But like, if I see something like that, it's like the TRICARE for Life thing. You know, like if I see some blatant misinformation posted publicly that has to do with that, the TRICARE for Life conversation, there's like 4 or 5 things that I can't help myself. And I just have to check them. I don't have a choice. It's my moral obligation to society. And especially if it's in my group, because if you talk shit back to me, I'm basically like judge, jury, and executioner. So if it's someone else's group, I'll go back and forth with you, but I'll give up a little faster.
Right. I'm thinking the same question. So I'm thinking about, biggest
I'd love to know.
Yeah, biggest lie that I've seen. There's definitely a lot, and I'm sure I'm forgetting about half of them, but the one that comes top of mind is, and I have nothing personal against this organization, I'll say that, but the Family First Life.
You said it.
The fact, I had to say, I'm sorry, there's a lot of Family First Life agents I really like and work with. So again, I have nothing against Family First Life, FFL. However, to have the FCC have to get involved, I think it's the Federal Consumer, like it's the division of the government that their job is literally to stop false advertising. There's a you have to realize this, like there's a government entity that is in place to stop like scams and like false advertising from happening, to protect consumers, right? To protect citizens.
Yep.
Is it the FCC?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think it's the FC, because the FTC is something. Let me see.
FTC is Federal Trade Communication.
No. FCC is Federal Communications Commission.
Oh, wait. You're right. I think it is FTC.
What's FTC?
But isn't that Federal Trade Communication?
Federal Trade Commission.
Commission, yeah.
I don't know. I think it might be FCC, because I think the false advertising is considered a communication. So I think it is FCC. Regardless, though, to have recruiting practices be so bad and essentially belligerent that you're offering these false commission levels, that the FCC sends a cease and desist order to your company. Like, again, nothing personal against Family First Life. I think we even did a whole episode, or at least talked about it, I think, in a previous Taco Tuesday. So I don't know if that's the title. I can't remember what the title of that episode is offhand, but if you want more info on that, you can go back. But and I saw, and then I was like, okay, when I saw that, I was like, let's take a look at it. I'm like, how bad is it? And then I started looking at some of these ads. They were essentially like leading with, you could make up to 140, 50%, 160%, like NMO level contracts. Not saying that it's not possible, but for the average agent, there's no way that they're going to walk in the door and get 150%, 160%, 100, whatever it was. It was really, really high. I remember looking at and I'm like, yeah, this is super misleading. Like, technically true. If you have millions and millions of dollars in production, if you have a call center, a big group of agents underneath you, technically you could get 140, 50%, whatever it was. But for the average agent, super misleading, and to the point that the FCC had to get involved. I'm like, yeah, that's got to be a record.
Yeah.
I don't know any other recruiting ad or agency like that that's gotten hit before. Like, that's
me neither. They're in a league of their own. But
they are absolutely.
Well, guys, let us know any situations that you ran into where you got lied to blatantly.
Yes. Yes.
Comment them down below. We'd love to have a dialogue with you guys and hear about some of your guys' experiences. If you guys like these kind of videos and, you want us to do more like them, more topics like this about lies being told and just things like that. I like the topic, I'm sure Glenn does too. So, we can always do more of them. Just let us know if you like that or not. And, but also make sure to 5-star review, subscribe if you like this kind of content, and we'll see you on next episode. Later, guys.
See ya.